Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Triple Option X's and O's 24/7.
Whatever you want to
We're
call it.
whatever the hell you want to call it. We're here for it. But what we're really here for, mega super senior. I don't know. This guy's been playing football for 75 years now. It feels like.
Yep, he's been
Uh,
around.
yeah, he's been around. He's listed as a super senior on the South Carolina website. But
I-
South Carolina SEC offensive line, offensive tackle specifically, transfer Jazston Turnetine. Yes, have fun saying that name. I'm just going to call him.
Jazston Turnetine.
I'm
Yep.
just going to call him Jazz or Big J. Maybe he'll let me call him Big J. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's have
Yeah,
him on the
we'll
show
see.
later.
Yeah, let's do that. But yeah, so he committed to the Knolls, decided to come on board. He's what, the fourth offensive line transfer, third offensive line transfer, fourth. So Bless Harris, Cade Lyles, Dimitri Emanuel, and now Big J Jazz on board. So first off, be sure to go over to Knowles 24/7. Zach, Brendan, Chris, Dane, those knuckleheads have got all the breakdown on what's going on with this dude's eligibility, where he's going to play, all those fun things. We're just here to watch tape. We're tape junkies. We're nerds. It's what we do. It's what we like to do. So
Yeah.
we've got some tape, right, Kev?
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the film without further ado. So,
Yeah.
the way we like to do these transfers and stuff when we have the available film is instead of going through the highlights or whatever, we're going to watch a full game. And this actually graded out as one of his better games, as we'll discuss later. So he is this left tackle. You'll see him at the top of the screen. He is the biggest man on the field at any given point in time. He is absolutely massive.
Yeah, he's listed 6'7", 340. I would classify him as a little overweight based on the film from what we've watched. Now, I know he was here. Zach and Brendan had the lowdown that he was here a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago for one of the camps. He looked like he had trimmed up a little bit, was down into the 330s, 320s range. So that's encouraging if he's tightened his body up a little bit because he does have a little bit of a belly. And that obviously can affect your movement skills.
Yeah, you can kind of see his strengths and his weaknesses in the first play here. So at the top of the screen, he does a good job of kind of getting off the ball and stalemating this defender at first. But then his feet are a little bit slow when he kind of loses the guy.
You can see how wide he is. He's got a little overhang on the front side there.
Here's the same play from a different angle.
Yeah, his hand placement's not great. He doesn't move his feet great. I don't think he's a traditional left tackle, but again, maybe he's slimmed down a little bit and can move is a little more agile.
So what tells you that he's not a traditional left tackle?
Just how heavy his feet are. I mean, you want a guy that can move over there on the backside for your quarterback. Now I know, the whole traditional left tackle thing's kind of going by the wayside because really both your tackles you want to be fleet of foot and able to pass block in case you have a left-handed quarterback or a right-handed quarterback, doesn't matter. He's heavy-footed. He's not light on his feet. So it makes sense that against some of these pass rushers he's going to struggle.
Yeah, you can kind of see it. He's a little plodding. I think he does a all right job of getting into a pass set, but once the guy kind of gets some steam going, he can't keep up.
Yeah, once or to his hips, he's beat.
But the thing is, he's long enough that you'll kind of see a theme where he tends to get beat, but he tends to be able to push them out. And so in a way that, because of his length, he's able to make up. One of the big reasons why people are so obsessed with arm length in the NFL and stuff like that is it allows you to get beat and still kind of keep the quarterback pocket clean, kind of keep that pocket in a round shape.
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody up in his body yet, which is a good thing. You're talking about the length. You don't want to see defensive ends getting up into his chest because that's when you definitely lose. And that's a great rep right there.
Yeah.
Gets off the ball nice and hard.
Here he is at the top of the screen.
I've watched him a few times. I don't think he always understands where the hell the ball's going.
Yeah, I've noticed that too, is that it seems like almost they might have simplified it for him at South Carolina. Sometimes he just man blocks on a zone play.
Yeah. He's on the backside of his tight end screen there.
Yeah, so not
No
a ton to
biggie.
see.
Run blocking wise, he seems to have moved people okay. There's a pass set on a run. No biggie. No, I think that was by design.
Yeah.
That's
all right. Tell me
not
what's
good.
going on here.
Well, he steps inside, and he does this a few times. I watch him. This is where I kind of talk about. I'm not sure he knows where the hell he's going.
Right.
And he needs to seal in. He needs to just keep sealing inside here and get movement on the inside, not worry about this dude on the edge. But he kind of gives up the block on the inside to peel off to the edge rusher.
Yeah, this almost looks like an ISO play to me, where everybody's just kind of man blocking here, going up.
For some reason, he disengages on what's probably Florida's best defensive lineman to pick up this kid screaming off the edge.
Yeah, and he ends up kind of not blocking either. But
yeah, they get the first.
Yeah, you see that a lot, and that might be coaching. That might be his ability to pick stuff up.
All right, so there's that's a play where he gave up the body. His hands are kind of down by his sides. He's not really ready. He looks lazy to me at times. I'll say that. He doesn't look like he's always ready to play. He's just kind of out there.
Yeah, the one thing I will say is that I think just his size is able to make up for a little bit of that, and he's not a total liability out there. See, yeah, here's one of those examples I was talking about earlier where seems like everybody's kind of zone blocking and he's just pushing this guy out. Yeah, it seems like everybody's kind of stepping that direction.
Could be duo.
Yeah, it could be.
Tough to know. Tough to know. We don't have the play call in front of us. Wish we did, but we don't.
That's true.
But
it's totally possible, but
it's a decent block. I mean,
he just gets his body in front of him.
Stays engaged. I mean, they're not asking him to do a whole lot there. Just be engaged. Does a nice job of picking up the twist there on the tackle coming out. That's good to see.
Yeah,
I must wonder if he'd be more of a guard.
Really,
he's
at that
he's
size.
Massive. He's tall as hell, but
I think he's just so long that
I don't disagree with you.
You put him where
that's good. That's good movement, and then he gives up. Yeah, you want. I'd like to see him have. I'd like to see him have a little more killer instinct and try to finish that.
Right. He gets the block and then he just kind of
just
saunters.
Right. And I know he got him driven backwards, but then it's just all right.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. That's the thing that's kind of stood out to me about this kid is he's hard to evaluate because
here's one. This is a negative.
Yes, big negative.
Sorry, I cut your thought off.
Yeah, so he's down blocking here. Should be moving up to this linebacker. And just kind of whiffs and just gives up.
Yeah, they're zone blocking, so he's stepping inside. It's not there. His job's to climb after that. And he just takes a horrible angle. I mean,
yeah. And even then,
at that point, go to where that backer's going to be, not where he's at.
And at that point, just keep going.
Yeah, which tells me he's got lazy eyes, lazy feet. I mean, that doesn't cut it.
Yep.
That's kind of stuff that keeps you on the bench.
Yeah, I think I'm excited about this take. The more I watch him and the more I see, but I don't think that he's someone that immediately impacts your win ceiling. But I do think he's someone that we've talked about this before. Traditionally, Florida State's been 1 or 2 offensive line injuries away from just throwing in the towel. And I think this is a kid that you can slot in here. It might even push some kids for a starting role if he clearly has the physical talent to be able to do something. His first step on a pass set's all right, and he's got the size, but
the length.
And if he's able to really focus and hone in, and Atkins is able to get something out of him, then we're talking about a kid that could legitimately compete for a starting position. But
absolutely, I agree.
Oh, he gets rolled up here.
It's a big if at this point. I mean, but look, here's a starting offensive lineman from the SEC coming in. This, if anything, just raises your floor so that you're not forcing Lloyd Willis or Rod Orr into competition before they're ready, or Jalen Early or Julian Armella, whoever.
Yep.
You don't want to play those guys before they're ready, and now in theory, you don't have to.
And he's another tackle body. I think it's just hard to come across kids who can play tackle. We have a
Right.
bunch of those tweener kids that are playing guard, and potentially if he steps up, he loses a little bit of weight, which is, I mean, something you guys have noticed. Brendan has noted a loss in weight, so maybe he's a little bit quicker, a little bit more agile. That potentially allows you to move someone like Bless Harris to a position on the inside if he's capable.
Right.
Or if someone gets injured, it's good to have a tackle in the back pocket.
Yeah. They've got a lot of options. And he's going to have to get caught up on the playbook. I mean, he's got about a month until training camp starts, and it's not a lot of time. He obviously hasn't been in a weight program, but he's obviously been doing something because he has slimmed down and he looked lean. He looked good from the pictures that Brendan took, or Brendan or Zach, I can't remember who it was, and posted on Knowles 24/7. So make sure you go get over there and check that out.
Yeah, I think this play's interesting because they kind of send a stunt at him, and he lets the inside guy go.
Yeah, I remember this play.
To try to chase the outside guy.
That's a bust. The outside guy's you turn that outside guy loose. That's a hot read for the quarterback. The quarterback should be throwing the ball to that back in the flat. He should be taking that inside rush away, and he blows us.
Take the biggest threat here.
Mm-hmm. That outside rusher is the quarterback's job. And instead, quarterback can't throw the ball
because he got a gun in his face.
Yep. Instead of a guy coming off the edge who he can work around.
He does a good enough job here.
Yeah, that's really just kind of how I would describe him. He just does a good enough job. But it makes you wonder if he was in shape and motivated, does he do a really good job, or do a good job? We haven't had a lot of good job around here. That's not great, but it's a win, but it looks like a hold potentially.
Yeah. It's more that the Florida guy fell down.
That's what we're talking about. The guy gets to his hips. He's kind of beat. He typically can get them up the field.
Yeah.
That one, I think he maybe held him. That's not bad there, though.
No, not bad. And it's my last clip, so we end on Florida just completely busting. So
let's hope to see a lot more of that.
Yeah, people were mad that I ended my last video on a drop. Pretty memorable drop, but so we had a couple of stats that we wanted to look at before we left you guys. So here is the PFF grades for him, and I kind of want to bring this up because he grades out pretty low on PFF's numbers. So this is out of 100. He's got a 41.9 on pass blocking. I think that's kind of I think that makes him look worse than he probably is. He's kind of one of those guys where, if depending on how you look at it, he's giving up a ton of pressures but not a ton of sacks. So I think that really hurts his pass block grade. He's got a 0 in Eastern Illinois despite giving up 0 pressures. So I'm not sure how that works out. But it seems like, he's kind of that kid that's always on the edge of being beat, but has the length and has the general size to kind of make up for it. So depending on how you look at it, I think PFF kind of grades it a little funny. And then you found this other group of stats that I think you should talk about.
Yeah, so this is we're working on a piece for tomorrow night, a little live video with Brendan, Kevin, and myself.
Yeah, that'll be on Knowles 247's YouTube channel. So I'll put out a link to that.
Yeah, on the Knowles 24/7 YouTube channel. We're going to be kind of finalizing our conversation on the passing game and its failures and maybe where it goes. And we're just going to be having a little sit down amongst the three of us, kind of just bullshitting it out and see what we can come up with. So make sure you share that on your socials that we're going to be going live tomorrow night. Do we have a time? Was it 8:00?
It'll probably be 8. Yep.
Yeah, probably 8:00. So if you guys can let everybody know that we're going to be on there, would love to
tell your coworkers.
Yeah, would love to have a few hundred people in the chat, just kind of chopping it up and talking Knoll football, and especially Knoll passing game.
And it might be today, depending on when Turnetine.
You're right. Yeah, it's going to actually be tonight because we're gonna release this tomorrow. Yeah. So anyway, this is Florida State's starting 5 from last year. So Robert Scott, Darius Washington, Devontae Love Taylor, Maurice Smith, Dylan Gibbons. And as you know, since we've been doing, I wrote an article a week or so ago about the Florida State passing attack and how the offensive line kind of was a big part of its failures. And then Brendan talked about the wide receivers, and Kev talked about did videos and all kinds of stuff surrounding the passing game. But I included Caden Lyles, Dimitri Emmanuel, Big J, and Bless Harris. Unfortunately, wasn't in the database. I'm guessing because of the level he was at.
Yeah.
So we're going to look at some of the stats that are here. Now, the first thing to note, we're going to focus on Jazz because obviously that's what this video is about. So he started seven games last year.
Yep.
Per this, he played 410 offensive snaps. 211 of those were in pass blocking situations, and 199 were in run blocking situations. We're going to ignore the screen blocker one because who cares?
Yeah.
So last year he gave up per PFF. He gave up 4 sacks last year. He gave up 9 pressures. So if we just want to look at those two, how he compared to everybody else, you see Robert Scott at the top there, who per this website was one of he ranked 101st in the country last year in, I believe that was in pressures allowed. I think that's how I had it divided when I pulled this. So, if you look at Jazz, Robert Scott gave up 21 pressures. Jazz gave up 9. Now, obviously, Robert Scott started 4 extra games, played 262 extra snaps, had 170 more pass blocking reps. So, if you think about it, though, 9 to 21, that's a pretty big gap. And, we're talking about Robert Scott coming back as a starter. And I think they probably still view him as that. But there's a lot of conversation around Jazston Turnetine about what he is, where he's going to fit in. I think this gives you kind of a good idea, right?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, this hurries allowed definitely stands out, right? He only gave up 3 hurries. In an SEC against the SEC schedule that's stronger than the schedule Florida State played last year, and but then you see 15 blocker beats. So I think that's kind of what we're talking about. He gets beat a lot, but whether or not that leads to a hurry or a pressure is really it probably doesn't. I think he's able to make up for it.
Yeah, I think he runs them up the field a lot, so which turns into how good is your interior? Are they able to create a pocket for your quarterback to step up into? I mean, you see that number of 15. He was beat 15 times, and what that stat actually is blocker beat without a pressure. So 15 times he was beat without it turning into a pressure on the quarterback. You see Darius Washington was at 18 and Robert Scott was at 15. So I have a feeling that number is probably a little bit higher for offensive tackles anyway, but you're right. I mean, I think it lends itself to the fact that he does get beat at times, but it doesn't always mean he gives up pressures. At times, if you're running those guys off the field and your interiors are able to create a wall for your quarterback to step up into, it's okay to get beat. You obviously don't want to get beat, but it's all right to allow a guy up the field if a quarterback's got a place to step to or pocket. And I think they've done a good job bringing guys in. And you see 3 of the names, the 4th being Bless Harris, who isn't listed on here. Bringing guys in who are able to bring the floor of this offensive lineup so they can finally have some consistency there if somebody gets hurt, play a season where they've got a chance up front to go out and have some success. I do think Jazston Turnetine is going to be a big part of that. I do think he's probably going to be a tackle. Whether he's a starter or not, it's a different story. But I don't think it matters.
Yep.
He is a body who clearly is, based on how he's reshaped himself, is clearly motivated to try to come in here and work his hardest, try to fight for a job, which is going to make Bless Harris better. It's going to make Darius Washington better. It's going to make Robert Scott Jr. better. It's going to make everybody in that room better because they're all fighting for something finally. And that's not a thing that we could say really quite some time about this offensive line.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think we've been talking about depth. Of course, it'd be great to land the big fish at the offensive line position. But ultimately, the offensive line is really a position group where you're only as strong as your weakest link. And I think we fortified our 6th man if we're talking basketball. So hopefully that leads to more insurance down the road. And Yeah, this is a good take. This is, I think, the longer I've stewed on it, the more stats I've looked at, the more I've watched him. He's not going to blow anybody's minds, but I think everybody already knows that. I think there's not a ton of optimism and excitement about this because it feels like, okay, another transfer. This guy couldn't cut it at South Carolina. Who is this kid? But I think I think we should be a little bit more excited as a fan base for something like this. I think this is kind of what a best case scenario for Florida State, something that shores up an offensive line that is not going to blow anybody away. But now I feel pretty confident that we're further from being a complete detriment to the team.
Yeah, I agree. It keeps those young guys off the field, allows them to continue to develop, which is important for their future, which is obviously important for the future of the football program. And it just gives you a chance. I mean, they played 21 different offensive line combinations last year. 21.
That's insane.
So hopefully these, you've got you got 9 guys now that you feel like you can run out there. It's going to be important over the course of the year. So I think that's all for us tonight. We're fans of Big J. We're fans of Jastin. Welcome to the Knoll family. Anxious to see what he turns into this year. I think that's going to go. I think what he's able to do motivationally, and if he's able to kind of put his best foot forward, I think it could go a long way into them reaching that 7-8 mark, that win mark that Mike Norvell's got to get to.
He's got to. Yep. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We will be back tonight, probably. So Tuesday night, we'll be on Knowles 247 YouTube channel on a live with a final discussion, taking all questions about the passing game. We've been talking about it ad nauseum for the past couple of weeks. So join us then. Leave any comments about Jastin in the comments below. We'd love to hear what you think about this kid. And we'll see you tomorrow.